All right, K-State still dancing. They began the day 11 games away from a national championship. Win number one's in the books, boys. Let's talk about it coming up next. Honestly, I'm not sure why that was so funny to everybody. Welcome into Three Maw. John Kurtz, Coleman, Manbeck, Derek Young, all with you. Everybody laughing hysterically at me suggesting that. The head coach here has been pretty emphatic about, we're trying to win championships. Like, come on, guys. Okay. Let's gather ourselves. Thanks to our friends at Holiday Distillery. They've got the Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon. They've got 360 vodka. Make sure you check it out if you're a bourbon drinker. The Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon is great for your watch party of the next 10 K-State men's basketball games that will occur this year. Make sure to get stocked up. Now, what really is deserving of a toast here, Cole, is that Derek and I have finally, it appears, found a spot. Now, we are currently in the interview holding area, like a little mini VIP shielded area of the bowels of Sprint Center, because up top, I had to search and scout out a booth. I had to wait for Arizona State student radio to leave. Finally got it, but it's too loud. So we got all set up there. It didn't work. There's like no way to get real water up there. There's no bottled water. It was only water machines. One of them was only dispensing hot water and like one was broken. It's been wild. We tried to go to the press conference room and it's very quiet and we don't have headphones for two of us to wear at the same time. So we didn't want Cole just like blasting out his hot takes and doxing refs to the entire press room. So, it's been a trip, but I think we're okay as long as there are no interviews scheduled for the next 30 to 45 minutes. So
there's also a family restroom.
Yes, we are right by restrooms. Yeah.
Did you guys?
That is. People are going to the restroom.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
All right. Okay. By the way, did you guys see who's officiating the current UCF Utah game out there?
Tony Padilla.
Who else?
Paskey.
That's right, baby. He's here. Can't wait to introduce myself tomorrow in person. So,
oh boy. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you? I don't know. What are the odds on the board right now that you actually do make it here tomorrow?
Very high. Vanessa went to a work dinner tonight, so I was at home with the kids. She just got home, so I have a very high probability to getting approval to going to tomorrow's games, tomorrow night especially. So.
Okay. Well, approval pending. I hope, make sure and submit that. Go through all the proper corporate channels to get that PTO submitted. And, let us know if it's approved.
Parenting PTO tomorrow. I'm going to put that in. So.
Okay, good. Well, top storyline should be that Cole's going to be allowed to be here or that we actually found a spot. But I guess we'll go with Coleman Hawkins today. K-State wins 71-66, by the way. Top storyline brought to you by Alenco. Our good friends, AlencoHome.com, ALENCO home.com for all your home improvement needs. 71-66. Coleman Hawkins had 26 and 8. What are you bowing out for?
Because of the.
Oh, okay. All right. Coleman Hawkins has 26 and 8. We are just on fire today. Yeah. For the social teaser, let's just, we can use this as a mark. All right. 3, 2, 1. Top storyline brought to you by Alenco, AlencoHome.com, ALENCO home.com. Coleman Hawkins, Cole, lights it up, all right? He was dropping bombs early on, and K-State basically won the game because they hit their first 5 threes. Coleman Hawkins hit 4 in the game. He goes for 26 and 8. And maybe we're going to get a little bit of March Coleman here. This guy only knows playing in the NCAA tournament, generally playing pretty well. So maybe we get a light bulb moment for Coleman to go on a bit of a run here.
Well, he was tremendous. I mean, at halftime, he had 19 at K-State's 38 points. He had scored 50% of their points. And, Jerome Tang has talked about all year that they need Coleman Hawkins to look to score more, to not be so, focusing on getting the assists and distributing to his teammates, but to be more of a scorer. And in tonight's game, he attempts 17 field goal attempts. That was the most he's attempted all season. 14 was the previous high that he had. He attempts 9 threes. He makes 4 of them. That was also a season high in terms of the attempted threes. His previous high in attempted threes was 7 coming into this game. His season high on the year in points was 20 against Cincinnati. He has 26 tonight, so a season high, his career high coming into tonight was 30 points. I think it was maybe at the 12, 13 minute mark, he got to 26, John. And King McClure on the broadcast on ESPN Plus said, oh, well, he's going to break his career high for sure now. I mean, he's at 26 with that much time left. And I was like, I mean, you haven't probably watched Coleman Hawkins enough if you think that, because, you know, he's not going to, just because he's putting up points, he's going to keep doing it. He's going to look to distribute. And, you know, he did down the stretch made some really big passes as well. But he was fantastic in this game. He had a usage rate that I think was his 5th highest this season, 29.4. It is his 5th highest on the season. They needed him to score the ball tonight, and he did it. And I mean, that's a pretty special performance when you factor in the injury that he's playing with, that most guys would have sat out the rest of the year with, and he's playing essentially on one leg. And for him to grab 8 rebounds and to have 26 points and to do what he did is a pretty special thing. So yeah, shout out to Coleman Hawkins for his effort tonight, and hopefully he's got enough juice to keep this thing going in the Big 12 tournament.
He was wearing less on his leg, right? There wasn't the brace tonight.
He spoke at the podium. He actually said he took the brace off because he thought he'd be able to play more free, and he did. So he played with no brace tonight.
So it wasn't necessarily that wasn't like a he had healed more kind of thing. It was just like he thought it would lead to better performance.
Yeah, he said like I don't know if it felt like restricted a little bit by the brace, so he basically did away with it. Just felt more free without it.
Okay. Sorry, Cole. Didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'd have to. It felt to me, guys. I haven't looked at the rim numbers, but it also felt like it was the most efficient we'd seen Coleman like inside finishing tonight. Like he got in there in the paint, and it wasn't just he hit the 4 threes, but getting to the rim and actually finishing the play. I thought he finished at a higher rate tonight as well.
He did. Well, he was aggressive too. It wasn't all about the threes. Now, I guess like overall, I do feel like this game, and I know this is if we're going to oversimplify here, it felt like K-State won the game because they just came out on fire, which was almost law of averages evening itself out after how bad they've been from 3-point range to 26% since the Arizona game. They just came out lights out, and then from then on got outscored, but just held on. Am I being unfair with that analysis?
You're not, but I would leave that. I think there's one moment there. They jumped out to what I think it was a 15-4 lead before Arizona State kind of walked that back, but they grew it out again. They went up 58-44 before really letting off the gas once again and kind of having to hang on. I wouldn't say for dear life at the end, but they made that far more interesting than they should have. If I'm going to, that'll be my critical component of this game. Is that Kansas State had the opportunity to step on Arizona State's throat, especially with the depth issues that Arizona State has. They can only play 6 or 7 guys. If they do it more, they're playing guys that really don't belong on the floor. So they had a depth issue. It's the second half where they should probably start to wear down a little bit. And then you get up to that 58-44 lead. I thought, well, Kansas State's probably going to win this by 20 plus at this point because Arizona State, like I said, the depth issues and all that. But instead, you kind of let them get back in it. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but it was a game that they could have put away and didn't.
It was actually kind of the opposite of what happened in Tempe, right? When Arizona State jumped out to the huge lead. And this game, K-State actually built it. Yeah, K-State actually built it to 17-4, and then they go on a 20-4 run to take a 24-21 lead. Then K-State bounces back. They go on an 11-0 run to push it to, I think, 34-26. Go into halftime up 7, and then you're right, DY. They pushed it out at a 14-point lead with about 8-9 minutes left on a Max Jones 3.
In Tempe, they jumped out 18 to Arizona State jumped out 18-2, and they lost that lead. But I think Kansas State also built their own double-digit lead in that game and lost that as well.
They got it to 13, and then Arizona State took a lead in the second half late. And when you look at the final numbers, you're like, how was this game really this close? Because, guys, Arizona State shot 38% from the floor. They made 7 of 26 from 3. That's 27%. K-State shot 50% from the floor and 44% from 3, and yet it was a 5-point game. Turnovers played a part. Arizona State outscored K-State on turnovers 20-10. K-State had 13 turnovers, which isn't an egregiously high number. But think about 13 turnovers and 20 points off of Arizona State. So, I mean, they're scoring almost 2 points off of every K-State turnover. So they capitalized there.
Yeah, and it didn't even feel like live ball turnovers where they were getting easy runouts. There wasn't a lot of those. No. To be honest, there was actually quite a bit of unforced turnovers where you're just dribbling the ball out of bounds.
Yeah. And then points in the paint, K-State at halftime, they'd outscored them 18-4. Arizona State was better in the paint in the second half. K-State ultimately outscores them 36-24 in the paint. Helped that Jaden Quaintance wasn't playing, obviously, for Arizona State.
Yeah.
He got hurt in the game in Manhattan. He hasn't played, I believe, since then, or he might have played just sparingly.
The word, and this is kind of just chat around the water cooler, is that he's probably healthy enough, but he's actually not playing because he's probably going to enter the portal. That's what I keep hearing. Yeah.
Was that chatter around the warm water cooler or the broken water cooler?
Both of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that. I mean, and if you're going to put shoes on the other foot too, right, Cole? David Gasson only played less than 20 minutes?
17, right?
Yeah. So.
All right. We're not doxing refs today.
No.
But David Gasson got just screwed all day. Now I know,
the charge was on him.
Some of it is on him, but it was not just the fouls that were called on him. It was also, I felt like there were 2 or 3 times where I'm like, David Gasson is finishing a layup and just sprawling down on the floor, and there's nothing called.
Cole said that in the group chat that we didn't get the same calls at the rim that Arizona State did. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, David got just pushed right in the back by Sean Phillips, and he made the layup, and it should have been an and one, not called. And then David gets his 4th foul on the ensuing possession because he's scrambling to get to the other end, and he has to end up picking up Jihad for them, and he's out of position, and that's when he takes a blocking foul, and he gets his 4th foul, and then he has to sit. You want to look at the positive. You survived a game only playing 17 minutes with them. He's going to have the freshest legs, tomorrow night.
I think AJ or whoever just put that up in our chat there. Also, that was mentioned by both Jerome and Doug at the podium. They're like, well, he's going to carry us tomorrow because he only played 17 minutes tonight.
Yeah, something else that was interesting. So, to your point, like at halftime, David Gasson had 0 points. I don't even know if he had a rebound. He had the 3 fouls. He hardly played, and he finishes with 5.
And let's be honest, the theme of the season, it kind of continued tonight. It sucks to have to continue to say that, but Kansas State is a much worse team when Ugo's on the floor. And it's just they're swimming upstream, trying to hang in there when he's playing.
Yeah, I would agree. I just kind of lean toward playing Moby over.
I was just going to say, Cole, you know what? Hold that thought. That thought. All right. Homefieldapparel.com. Whether you are in a VIP holding area right next to a family restroom, or you are out in front of the world to see at Bramlage Coliseum, you can wear home field apparel and look great no matter what. Like Cole wearing his Big A champ shirt. Shout out to the 1977 Cats. Looks great. You can get it at homefieldapparel.com. 50 plus other K-State designs, 100 plus other teams. DY not wearing anything today. It's all neutral. Just, being a company man with the On3 shirt. But most of the time, DY's got something. So stay tuned for that. Go to homefieldapparel.com and use promo code 3MOD24 to get 15% off your first order. We're back in just a moment.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story. Like Bryan Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Bryan Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Okay, Cole. So you bring up a great point. Like what? I have not really understood that. It seemed like that's, look, if like Jaden Quaintance is playing, maybe that's a little bit different. If you're going up against, some of this, I cut him some slack. Like, hey, lineup construction of who you're going up against. I guess if you feel the need to go with a guy who has the size, but DY's right, man. It's been like an automatic bucket basically every time he's in defensively. So I don't know. Try Moby. See, is some of this, Moby had been injured, right? He missed, was it the Arizona State game?
No, you missed the
Colorado.
You're right. He missed the Colorado game. They played without Coleman and him against Colorado. So maybe he's still a bit shaken up, and that's a part of it. But I don't know. I would just be rolling with him and say, at least we'll go down swinging, with a little bit more effort.
For a moment there, I think Moby was starting to flirt with foul trouble. I don't know if that played a role as well, because I don't want to go too overly negative. There was a stretch during the game in which Ugo actually rebounded the ball well.
Well, he had 4 rebounds at half, but he finished with 4 rebounds.
Yeah, he had a really good offensive rebound to Coleman, because I remember having a joke about it, but he had an offensive rebound. I don't know if he kicked it out for Coleman for a 3 or Coleman had to put back, something like that. But that was a really good moment.
He saved the ball. He rebounded, saved it falling out of bounds. And I was like, that is the most effort I have seen out of Ugana on Yenso the entire season.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to you guys' point, I mean, they don't have Quainton, so all they have is Sean Phillips as a big, and they have nobody else. And that's not a team that you got to play multiple bigs against as a result. So Moby would have been a good fit for guarding Jihad or someone like that. But that would be my preference, is to play Moby a little bit more. He only played 4 minutes. I don't think he played in the second half.
Yeah. There's also a moment where I talked about stepping on a throat, and I think part of it was the foul trouble, but I think some of it was almost voluntary, and I wrote about it in my instant takeaways article that I published immediately after the game, especially when it felt like Kent State initially built that double-digit lead in the second half. I'm sure foul trouble was playing part of a role, but they voluntarily went to a lineup, right, that had David Castillo, CJ Jones, and Ugo at the same time as soon as they hit a double-digit lead. I think I texted you guys as soon as that happened. Now, I think after that, I think they hit the 3 to go up 14, actually, is what happened. Yeah. But I just thought that felt like we have our mind on tomorrow a little bit kind of a move.
Well, there's 2 ways to look at that, right? Like, you continue to stockpile the lead and try to get up by 18 or 19. You can rest guys in the last 7-8 minutes. Or, you got to give your guys a break at some point. And to be fair, he doesn't have David Gasson he can go to because he's got 4 fouls. So, you're losing one of your key guys. Doug's got 3, and he's out on the court. So he didn't have a ton of options in order to rest the guys that he would want to do. I think,
but he didn't stagger the rest there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. I totdo understand the point because, you'd like to just go ahead and blow them out and then you can rest.
But I mean, maybe you do have more legs for tomorrow than you anticipate. Probably not for Coleman, who's kind of banged up and played a lot tonight, but it felt like no one else really got taxed.
Yeah, which, by the way, Coleman was 4 of 5 at the rim and then 2 of 3 on mid-range classifications, according to Bart Torvik, so 6 of 9 or 6 of 8 combined.
He had a couple lapses on the glass. It bothered me here and there, but I will say there was several times where he had outstanding defense, so it's not just what he's doing on the offensive end.
One thing was interesting.
And the goaltending got called for, that was a legit block, no?
Yeah, it was. Go ahead, John.
Holy cow, that was a nasty block too.
Well, I was just going to say, I cut, at this point, I cut Coleman a little bit of slack. There have been those moments all year where it's a little frustrating sometimes. It looks like maybe could have given more effort going for a rebound, something. I cut him a little slack now that he's playing on one leg. I think you're just going to have to live with some of that if he's going to be out there on the floor. You are correct. Speaking of ref show, man, boy, what the hell it is with goaltends. I don't know what K-State did to goaltending.
You know what pissed me off too is that they cover if not for that goaltending call.
I mean,
no, seriously, it was 5.5.
The luck that they have had with goaltending shit over the last couple of weeks is insanity. How that ball was clearly still on the way up. Now I will say, Cole, I was very up top. It is. I know people kind of make fun of Jeff Goodman complaining about how high up the seats are here, but it is legitimately, this is not me crying that you should feel bad for me, but it is legitimately difficult to get a feel for what is going on in the game way up there. And
Cool, find out tomorrow.
They did a really bad job with they didn't even say over the PA whether the basket counted or not until the game had started going again. And I'm not hearing on TV what they're talking about. So I guess my question to you, Cole, is I really had no idea what the hell was going on there until I just see that it stayed at 71-66. Is there something I'm missing about why that call?
We're so high up we don't hear the PA.
Yeah, so the broadcast started showing some other angles, and they showed an above the backboard look. And one of the debates they were having was, did it hit the backboard first, which I don't think it did. You can see from the other angle, I'm pretty sure it did not hit the backboard first, but that was the debate that King McClure and the broadcasters, Roxy Bernstein, were having. Here's the problem with the goaltending rule, guys, is that because they can review it now, they call everything questionable. Like, even if they don't probably think it's a goaltend, they call it. And then sometimes you're not going to have the indisputable evidence because of camera angles to overturn it. These guys are just calling it because they know they can go to the monitor. The only difference here is they can go right away. So,
yeah.
Well, Cole, this is where it should have come back around for K-State, and it should have actually helped. It should have actually helped this time, but it didn't. All right, DY's got to run, so we're gonna take another break here, and then Cole and I will finish this thing off. So
see you tomorrow, Cole.
All right, see you then.
Hopefully, cross your fingers on the way out, DY, that Cole does make.
Can we just sit in the regular seats tomorrow? Like, let's just watch as fans. Come on down.
It would be better seats. I mean, we get a better feel for the game for sure.
We'll just buy tickets. I'll buy you tickets. We'll just sit together down there.
Okay. All right, that works. Okay.
I always sit courtside, Cole.
Yeah, well, you didn't today. We'll talk to you in just a moment.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
All right. Notes that I had jotted down here, Cole, about the rest of the game. What did Doug's final stat line wind up being? 5 of 13. I mean, it's just another one of those games where he's not efficient at all. 5 of 13 is actually maybe a little bit better than I anticipated it being. He knocked in a couple at the end of the game. But I had these floaters, mid-range jumpers. That's got to get better next year, man. That's got to get better. He's so quick. Like, he's got, I feel like, almost the hard part down. Like, he can get at least like the natural God-given talent part down, where he can just blow by you with his speed. But he has got to find a way to finish better and not turn it into all these like complete feathers that go 10 feet up in the air. It's just not, it doesn't convert consistently enough.
Yeah, I was just actually, one thing that was interesting about Doug's performance tonight, 38.4 usage rate, John, which his highest usage rate on the season was 32.6 versus Arizona. So it was kind of crazy to me that he had that much of a higher usage rate in this game, playing 32 minutes when he was out on the court, as he got a little bit of foul trouble and had the 3 fouls. But to your point, yeah, like we've talked about it before, Doug has to be a much more efficient player shooting the ball. And that doesn't just start at the 3-point line. He's got to become a better finisher at the rim. He's got to figure out, like, we saw what Marquise Noel could do at the rim, right? I mean, he's smaller than Doug. Now, maybe a little more broad, stronger.
He's definitely thicker than Doug.
Yeah. But like, smaller guards just have to be creative and learn how to use their body to create a little space and how to use the rim to protect themselves, whether it be going into reverses or anything like that, to create a little space, create a little contact. Like, the problem with Doug is he tries to shoot these high floaters off the backboard all the time, and they're not a high percentage shot. So he's got to become more efficient there. He goes 3 of 7 at the rim tonight, 2 of 6 on mid-range shots. But the 3 of 7 at the rim, there were a couple that he needs to make. Now, he made maybe one of his hardest ones of the night. It was like a left-handed layup. He made a couple really hard ones, and there were a couple that should have been easier. He's just got to be able to go through contact. He's a guy that needs to be able to get to the free throw line before more than he does. I've talked about it before. He's got to get creative there. He ends up with 14 points. He did have a couple really big baskets down the stretch to answer every time Arizona State cut it to 6. I think he pushed it back to 8 back-to-back trips. So good there. 6 turnovers, especially some really silly ones in the first half. 5 assists. His assist to turnover had been really good over the last several games heading into tonight. Yeah, tonight's an exception, more of the outlier, but didn't do a very good job of taking care of the ball. So he's got to be better there. He's just got to be smarter too. He picked up that 3rd foul early in the second half, knowing he had 2, and it was just a hand check out on the perimeter. So, but yeah, he's got to become a more efficient player. He had an offensive rating of under 80 tonight, which is not ideal.
Mm. Yeah, and look, it still feels like he's playing very hard. Like, I still think he's really engaged. These are better problems to have than what we were talking about for half to 2/3 of the season. So don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong on that front. I mean, I would agree, Ryan. It's hard to trust much of what's coming off the bench with this team. That's unfortunately sort of the point with the whole deal. But before we move on to Baylor, Cole, any other observations from tonight? I mean, I don't, because speaking of the bench, Castillo, CJ, not great.
No. Castillo, I don't know if they credit him with an assist on that shot. It was clearly a shot. I mean, that Ugo dunk.
Yeah,
here's the thing about Castillo tonight, John. He made a couple of really good moves, but he made one really good move to create space, and he almost airballed the kind of step back jumper. It nicked the rim, and Coleman got a putback as a result. And then he made a great move right at the end of the first half, and he got fouled, and he made both free throws, but it should have been an and one.
That's cool, and it wasn't even close.
No, he airballed the layup. He shot it over the rim. That's got to be an and one. A couple good moves there, but I don't know. Maybe it's just a confidence thing. Maybe because
I think it is. I started to cut you off. I think it is a confidence thing, man. Like that. I mean, the layup at the end of the first half to me was the most glaring. It's just dude, just go strong. Just drive and go strong. You got it. I mean, he's small, but he's not scrawny. It's got to be a confidence thing. You can miss as a recruiting service, but you're not a 4-star recruit for nothing. A 4-star recruit should be able to just go dribble down the lane and finish that thing. And the other thing I would say, Cole, with that is that how often do we see him just pick up his dribble in no man's land because he's just not confident with the dribble and just to keep the play going. So
yeah. Well, and there was a possession, I think late first half, John, where he brought the ball up the court and he just dribbled up high for 20 seconds. The shot clock was at 9 seconds before he made a pass. And, you gotta do something to initiate the offense quicker. And I think part of it is largely confidence for him. Maybe it's the yips when he shoot. He's got a pretty looking shot. And when he gets to the free throw line, he's shooting at a high clip this season. He doesn't get there a lot, but he's a pretty good free throw shooter. That's, he's got a nice release on his shot. So, you hope that he can take that step this offseason, become a more confident player. I would highlight, John, Max Jones, 10 points, 8 rebounds tonight. That was big, getting 8 boards from him.
Yeah.
And then Brendan Hassan, 10 points, and he did it on 4 of 6 shooting. And he made 2 twos. 2 twos, that might be a season high for a game. I mean, he had
a big shot, man. One of those twos late in the game was pretty big when it got down to, was that a 6 to an 8?
It was, he hit it was a tough floater. I mean, he was off balance, not when he shot it, I was I didn't like it, but he made it. And then he had the nice back cut that Coleman hit him on for a layup because teams cheat out on him on the perimeter so much. So he was efficient tonight, 4 of 6, 10 points. You'll take that from Brendan Hassan. So encouraging things there. CJ Jones wasn't good. Had a stretch where he just had a horrendous turnover followed up by an airballed 3. CJ airballs a lot of 3s.
I was just going to say, I think if you had an airball count for the season, he'd have 75% of them that this team's at.
I don't think I've ever seen a guy, John, shoot, I think he's shooting 35% from 3 on the year. I don't think I've seen a guy shoot that high of a clip and miss that badly on so many 3s. So, and then the other thing I would mention, K-State 8 of 18 from 3 tonight. We talked about, what they've been in the prior 8 games. They were 24% from 3 in the prior 8 games, 42 of 173. Tonight, they go 8 of 18. That's 44%. So that's a positive. Now, you went 5 of 5 to start the game. You finished 3 of 13 the rest of the way. But that's encouraging. And 57.4 effective field goal percentage. That's the 3rd highest for K-State since the Arkansas Pine Bluff game on December 1st.
Well, how confident does that make you about playing Baylor tomorrow?
Well, look, they could have easily won at Baylor in Waco when this team wasn't necessarily playing well. And they built, a 12-point lead in the second half. They lose 70-62. Here's the thing, Joshua Ojamana, I mispronounced it, I think. He's out for the year, their center. So they have Norchad Omir, who's a hell of a player in the post. He's a 6'7" post, undersized guy, but he's a hell of a rebounder and player, as you know. But they don't have another big. So they're not a team that's going to be able to, I say this, you shouldn't have to go to Ani Enzo tomorrow necessarily, because you should be able to play David Gasson, Moby, Hawkins. Now, you can use on Enzo if you want, but they're not going to crush you on the glass. They do get Langston Love. They've had him back for a while. So they've got a lot of good guards that can shoot it. I mean, Robert Wright's a hell of a freshman, and so is obviously VJ Edgecombe. Then you got Jeremy Roach, and you got Langston Love. So they got a really good perimeter, and that's where it's going to be critical. If you recall, John, in the second half of that game in Waco, K-State couldn't keep VJ Edgecombe out of the paint. Like he was just dicing him up and getting to the free throw line and killing him there. So that's going to be the key is Edgecombe's been really good in Big 12 play. You got to stay in front of him and you got to stay out of foul trouble. And whoever guards him, I don't know who you put on him because he's a 6'5" guard. Do you put Max? Can he keep up with him? You can't probably put Hawson on him or Doug too much. So Doug will probably guard Robert Wright. Look, Baylor's a team that hasn't played very well in Big 12 play. I mean, they lost to Colorado just a couple weeks ago. The thing that's interesting about this game, K-State obviously knows they got to win the whole tournament to get to the NCAA. Baylor might need to win tomorrow to go to the NCAA. They're a bubble team. They're 18-13. If they lose 18-14, are they in? I don't know. They're probably in, but it's close.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what they've done so we remember the Kansas game, right, which was a wild one. They beat KU by 11 in Waco. Since then, they've got narrow home wins over UCF, West Virginia, and Oklahoma State. They did pull one out at TCU by 3, but then, a loss to Cincinnati, a loss to Colorado, a lot handled by Arizona. They have not been scary at all. In terms of what they've done. So it's there. Now, I will say at the same point, with that, in the same breath, K-State didn't look very scary itself today. And I know you can say, maybe some of that is trying to go deeper into the bench to play for a bigger run when you had a double-digit lead. But I don't know. Today was not an incredibly inspiring effort. I guess I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You win by 5 against a team playing down multiple guys. BJ, they only have 6 scholarship players, and then Adam Miller gets hurt with 10 minutes left in the game and he's out for the game. He doesn't come back in. So they're undermanned. You would have liked to have won that game by double digits and won comfortably, not to where, you're fighting until the end. So it left a little bit to be desired. And then I will also say Baylor averaged almost 1.22 points per possession against K-State down in Waco. That's their 4th highest in 20 Big 12 games this year. They're a top 20 Ken Palm offense. So it'll be a really hard game. But look, I think if you're going to make a run, you liked the way the bracket kind of fell. Baylor's a team that's been up and down in the league. And then you'd rather play Texas Tech than Houston if you get there, even though that's not an ideal either. Texas Tech's a hell of a team. But you almost beat Texas Tech in Manhattan. You got the shit kicked out of you by Houston. So,
no, you couldn't have asked for anything better from a draw standpoint. But it is just, I mean, I just got to be honest. They could certainly win tomorrow, but it's hard for me to get too fired up about a deep run based on what we saw today at all. So,
well, and they just don't have the depth.
Yeah, right. Exactly. The point that someone made in the chat earlier about not trusting anybody else off the bench other than Moby. It's not enough depth to make this kind of a run. But hey, VJ Edgecombe, by the way, dropped 30 in that game in Waco. That was nightmare fuel. What VJ Edgecombe was able to do. So
unless David Castillo wants to give you a Mike McGuirl type game against Creighton, and give you 15, 17 points, you're going to need guys to have moments like Coleman Hawkins did tonight. Not that was necessarily out of character. Coleman Hawkins has that capability, but you're going to need somebody that, normally doesn't go off to go off, it could be someone that goes off, but they have to go off like Brendan Hawson has to hit 7 threes or something,
right?
For in a game to get you to go on a run. Now, North Carolina State last year won 5 in 5 games, and then they went to the Final Four. I can't tell you, how deep they were off recollection. Maybe they felt the same way and how incredibly unlikely that was. But I will also say the ACC was not nearly as tough of a conference as the Big 12. So,
the ACC is just that's an easier. I say all this without looking through what their run was specifically last year. I think Brad Brownell somewhere is listening to this podcast screaming at us for making that statement about the ACC. But yeah, I think you're correct to that point.
Yeah. So look, I'm just excited to be able to now, because they won tonight, I get to go at least come to the Big 12 tournament tomorrow with my alma mater in the tournament still. So at least you get a shot to watch them play again, and the off season will be here soon. But I look forward to seeing them play tomorrow night, and hopefully a lot of K-State fans make it down. Tickets are pretty affordable. I mean, they were $2 tonight, and I think I saw a secondary market like 15 to 20 for tomorrow night. So you're not in the Iowa State session, which helps. KU's in your session, but I don't know how into the second round KU fans are. I don't think they're that into the Big 12 tournament anyways. They're kind of over it in my mind, but
right.
Yeah. So
I will say this with them though. This is a much more interesting Big 12 tournament for Kansas than we've had in a while, and it's more important to them because they need to play well and just get some confidence, right? I heard Bill Self talking about that at either his press conference or coach's show. I can't remember what. I was listening on the radio, but I had thought that, and then he made that point too. He was saying it in regard to the Arizona game, like we just needed a confidence booster game, and I was like, yeah, Big 12 tournament run would go a long way for them probably just to get them feeling good about themselves.
That, and from a seed perspective, I mean, they might be hovering low 6 seed right now in the NCAA. I don't know.
Maybe, but I have felt like lately, Cole, they have not rewarded conference tournament performance nearly as much.
Yeah, no, you're right. They didn't do it last year. They were. I'm trying to remember. Somebody went on a run in one of the conference tournaments last year, and they didn't improve their seed line at all, or they didn't get in. I can't remember, but yeah, it's felt that way for sure. I mean, obviously, we could go all the way back to the heartbreak of 2006 with Huggins, right, or 7, and you beat Texas Tech by 20, and Tech gets in over you. So who knows? Whenever they're thinking with the conference tourney, I don't know, but yeah.
Well, I thought you were going to talk about when a young John Kurtz wrote an angry email to the director of the NIT because K-State beat Texas A&M with Jeremiah Massey at Municipal. Kemper, not Municipal, at Kemper. And they still didn't put K-State in the NIT when the rumor was they were going to play Wichita State in the NIT. And a young John had never consciously remembered seeing postseason K-State basketball at all. And I was so incensed that somewhere in the year, was that 2004, 2005, something like that?
Yep.
Somewhere there's an email floating around from a Yahoo email account from John Kurtz to the NIT director.
Well, if everybody wants to know how diehard of fans we are, that's a great example. And I was refreshing NIT bracketology back then to see if K-State was going to get in. I was upset Wichita State got in over K-State. I was at the game at Kemper against Texas A&M. Were you there?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
The 10 versus 7 game. Our seats were so high that you had to duck down to see the overhang from where we were. We had to duck around. There was a pillar. But we all drove up to that game, and I thought K-State clinched its NIT berth. I think they got to 17-12 or 17-11, and then they played. I think they played KU the next day. It
was always Kansas. Yeah, it was always a loss to Kansas.
Do you remember the 1 year that I think it might have been Tom Asbury? They got to the semifinals and played KU on a Saturday in the Big 12 tournament. They smoked Missouri the night before on a Friday.
Yeah. And
I don't know if I've told you guys this story before. I don't mean to go off tangent. I know we're about to wrap here, but this is how big of a fan I was. I was in grade school, so this would have been in the 90s. So it was Asbury, Sean Rhodes and that team. And K-State beat Missouri, smoked them. I was in the Shawnee County Spelling Bee that Saturday. I won the Rossville Spelling Bee. I was in the Shawnee County Spelling Bee. There were about 120 kids in the Spelling Bee, and this thing starts at 9 a.m. K-State's playing at 3:30, and these kids are just dragging this thing out. All right, I made it to the top 25, and I keep watching the clock. It's 2 o'clock. I go up there, and I intentionally misspelled the word pumice to get off the stage so that I could get in the car and get back home so I could watch K-State play KU in the Big 12 tournament in the semifinals. And K-State gave them a hell of a game. It was a great game. So
you said pumice, P-U-M-I-C, pumice. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, the word pumice. I misspelled it. So I think I think I spelled it like PUMIS just to get off the stage. You know? So because I wanted to go, like my parents are out there in the crowd.
Yeah.
I want to go watch the game. So I did.
It's a pro move.
I threw the Shawnee County spelling bee. Could I have won it? I mean, then maybe there needs to be an asterisk around that from 25 years ago. But
you also could. I mean, you could have made it all the way to Scripps, dude. You could have been on Espen, writing on the back of your name card.
Oh man. Well, they were doing that in the practice round of the spelling bee, and as soon as I saw like kids doing the pretend right on the back of the thing at the Shawnee County one, I was like, "There's no way I'm going to try and win this thing because this thing's going to drag forever." So
yeah. No language of origins for you.
So anyways,
well, I'm glad. I was going to cap it off with this. I'm glad that you mentioned actually the Bob Huggins year getting left out there, because literally last week my mom was digging through some old stuff of mine that she has at her place, and at the top of it she pulls out this T-shirt. It was just a white tee that had a bunch of stuff written in Sharpie on it, and I was like, what was I doing with this? And I read it, and it said tickets to the game, however many dollars, Coke and soda, however many dollars, and then like getting completely screwed by the NCAA tournament selection committee, priceless. It was something like that. I did that whole trope and just wrote it in a Sharpie on a T-shirt. And I remember I wore that to school after K-State got left out. Really cringy. Like I really do not like thinking back on that's where we were in our fandom at that point. But that's how desperate, starved we were for any kind of relevant basketball.
I got for Christmas present one year in the Christmas tree tickets to the K-State game. It was Kenny Gregory, Nick Bradford, KU team, and they beat us 66-45 in Bramlage, or 66. And I wore a purple wig to school that day, and a headband, and K-State shorts, and a K-State jersey, Tyrone Davis jersey. So look, folks, I'm sorry we're going down memory lane right now on a live show after the opening Big 12 tournament win, but like that, I guess maybe that gives you a little perspective of what it used to be like. So I know many of you have experienced that too. So
yeah, that to the, we had that discussion the other day where someone was like, is this like Tom Asbury or like Jim Woldard's level? And it's like, no. Jim Woldard's was going his best season. He's like 17-11, but like 6-10 in the Big 12, and they beat nobody of consequence, just nobody of consequence at all. So, at least you're getting more exciting games here.
Jim, Woldridge did love to tease you with upset wins only to choke it away at the end in heartbreaking fashion.
Oh, God, he was great at that. Boy, he was pain. Yeah, he was great at jumping out by 10-15 on somebody in the first half and then letting Oklahoma State or Oklahoma. I feel like
those were the two. I mean, John, there had to be 6 losses between those two that they should have won.
So. Yep, absolutely. I think the Oklahoma State Final Four team, they had down by like 20 in Bramlage, right?
I was at the game. Desmond Mason, that team, and Eddie Sutton coaching him. K-State was up 20, and K-State choked it away in the second half and lost the game. Obviously, I was at the Drew Lavender game, and Kelvin Sampson comes sprinting off the court. I was there for that. But they also should have won at OU like multiple times. Like they had OU on the hook. Yeah. Tim Ellis took them to overtime with the 3. Man, I hope all of you are enjoying this trip down memory lane of the dark days. But I
don't know. Would they rather us break down K-State 71, Arizona State 66 anymore? I don't know.
This is personally more interesting to me. But,
yeah, I agree. All right. Well, hey, we made it. A couple people used the family restroom during the pod here, but nobody was harmed in the VIP interview holding area, waiting area. So Cole, I can't wait to show it to you tomorrow. Yeah,
I'm real excited to see
it. Breathe breath. That's a tough one, Ryan. Breathe breath. That's I'm sure you're not the only one that's bowed out in a elementary school spelling bee on that one.
I look forward to seeing that beautiful setting tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing Chris Pashy tomorrow officiate college basketball.
And you get to hear the Big 12 hip hop, the official Big 12 rap song, which is playing right now. We don't take a night off. So
all right, well, can't wait to take it in. I probably won't be. I'm working during the day. I'll probably get down there around 4:30 tomorrow, 5 o'clock.
Bring an ice maker though for the water. So just make sure to
bring a water cooler and like an ice cream machine too. So.
Bring a cooler, something to keep your water cold. Listen, I love you, Brett, but the media setup It could be better. It could be better. Again, I'm not asking you guys to cry for us, but it could be better.
Hey, wait a second, real quick. So are the actual like Kellis, are they courtside this year?
So you get 2 spots. Each school gets 2 spots courtside. And they're given, obviously, to like people who have covered the team the entire year. So I was told that Ryan Gilbert and Kellis Robinette got the 2 spots for K-State this year.
They won the lottery, huh? So, well, I guess that makes sense. So,
yeah.
no.
Man,
Right.
Kellis, who almost came close to sitting in that chair you're sitting in right now, Cole.
Man, yeah, what a tough break for him. Except then he wouldn't be able to sit courtside. He'd have to sit up high tomorrow.
That's true. That's
so
true.
Because of that, it could have been 3-mall with Kellis Robinette. Man,
yeah,
what a treat.
We love you, Kellis. All right,
Kellis won't listen to this. So
thank you. Yeah, well, no, he doesn't listen to our show.
He can come over to this tomorrow though. In that little.
That's
corner.
actually a good point. He was in the media room when we were trying to figure this whole thing out. So yeah, you're right. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through this and listening. I don't feel like it was my best podcast ever, but we made it happen. Home Field Apparel's got to be proud. Holiday Distillery got to be proud. Alenko got to be very proud. I'm sure Nick Springer is proud as well. Thank you for his work behind the scenes. Thank you guys for being patient as we found the spot here. I am going to go home, quite hungry, get something to eat, go to bed. We'll do it again tomorrow. Take care.